because, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the past couple ones were more like a ritual. And I said, you know what, this time I just want to hang out with them and I just want to get to know you and answer questions. And
Yay. I'm so happy to be here. My schedule's been a little bit crazy. I've had a lot of travel. My dad's having some health issues, and
sorry.
I'm actually I'm in your time zone right now. I'm in North Carolina.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I had to fly out here very unexpectedly for some surgery. And so just the schedule's been crazy, and I'm just so happy to finally be able to make it live. Like I've been like,
Yeah,
so
I'm
yay.
so happy. I'm so happy that you're here, and I hope that all goes well with your dad. And
Thank you.
so
Thank you. Thank you.
you're welcome. So, okay, well, everybody, settle in. I figured that this would be a really fun time to just kind of like riff on Sag energy, since Sagittarius season's just around the corner, and so I see Amanda's at Panera, so she muted herself. Yeah, it's so funny whenever clients tune in from Panera specifically. It's like so loud. So that's fine. But if you do want to unmute yourself at any point, feel free, to chime in. So how are you guys doing? And just want to, check in and see how your Mercury retrograde has been treating you. So and then open up for some just discussion and conversation. And then if you have any questions for me, I'd love to offer some coaching if you want anything specific that you're working through or want to get feedback on. We have the hour. So let's just enjoy and and do some astrological business stuff.
I love it.
So Kimberly, how has your Mercury retrograde been?
It's super interesting. So my sun sign being Virgo, so Mercury's a big planet for me.
Yeah. Hmm.
Usually it's pretty like I'm a very reflective person anyway, and I know and understand what's happening from an astrological perspective. Um, and yet this particular Mercury retrograde has been kicking my butt. And I think part of the possibility of that, of course, we're in Scorpio. And as you know from our last live, my Scorpio does rule my eighth house. So, of course, I'm just like, hello.
Yes.
Right.
I know.
But another piece, too, that we've talked or that I've shared a little bit about, and I don't know if you remember, I certainly wouldn't expect you to do this. I just had my 50th birthday in September. And so I am full on Chiron return and in my first house. And so there's a lot, and I can already feel myself getting emotional about it. There's a lot. There's a lot around my dad and that first male relationship in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also realized I had this aha connection not that long ago that there's obviously something that's looking to be uncovered in all of that, because all of the significant male relationships that I've had in my entire life continue to have followed some kind of a pattern. And so I don't think it's an accident that I'm here and this whole surgery thing has happened at the time that it has with my dad. But it was even just such an effort to get here. We had all the crazy weather. And so I was literally trying to get here, and I didn't even think I was going to be able to make it here. And in the process, I lost my winter coat. I literally lost my wallet. So I'm just kind of sitting back going, wow.
Wow.
Then it truly, Daphne, it's been a wild, wild ride. And I'm in this space where I'm really wanting to rebrand my business and really step fully into the woman that I came here to be. My business is a reflection of who I am, as you know, because those are the kind of women you attract. And yet that's where I want my attention to be. And yet I feel like I'm getting pulled to look at all this other stuff. And so it's creating a little bit of angst for me and some impatience on my part. So that's probably like the high level.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've said to you, I really feel like you are someone, I have worked with many coaches as a coach myself, and you know what it takes when you're a coach to find your coach. And I feel like you have a really beautiful blend of many things that I could learn from you. So I really would like to be in conversation about maybe how we could do some one-on-one, because everything that you put out, I love.
Thank you.
And at the same time, I'm also recognizing that I feel like I need some one-on-one before I dive into all the other things that I really want to dive into, if that makes sense.
Yes, no, it does. It really does. And I find that when people have a session with me and essentially with their chart, it's really with themselves, right? It just brings everything together, and it kind of gives them a direction, and then they can take the other pieces and put it all together. So I think that's a good idea for sure, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. That's awesome. And it's been so nice connecting with you and getting to know you a little bit. And I would love to hear, I mean, I find it so interesting that you use the word angst because, you know, the first house where you said your Chiron return is occurring, you know, it's ruled by Aries and Mars. And so there's this urgency component with Aries that can oftentimes feel like angst and like frustration and just wanting, like, just do it. That's the Mars energy.
Yeah.
So, you know, just having that awareness that it's uncomfortable, but it's maybe it's actually a different energy than you are comfortable with right now. But also, you know, I like to kind of play around and be like, well, is it really angst, or is it more that it's pushing me in places that I don't like, and that's creating the angst, right? And that's creating the feelings. But what's the root of it, and what is really happening there? Because whenever we have these returns, like especially a Chiron return and anything like that, you know, it is by nature uncomfortable because it's a growing pain.
Well, exactly. And the thing that's so interesting is that um, I I'm the girl who loves the growth and the evolution and all of that. And I feel like there's a sense of, I feel like part of it is I'm feeling the sense of impatience. Like I'm like, okay, I've been working at this for like consciously working on this, right? We know that we're always evolving, but my conscious awakening of all of this, I've been working on this for 12 years. And so and human design, and I know you know that a little bit, I'm a 4-6, right? So I've just learned about the sixth line and those 3 separations of life. And so there's almost this piece of like, okay, I've done so much freaking work and I'm just ready to feel like I'm in the flow of my life. I'm tired and I'm frustrated and I don't know. And maybe you can answer this question. My, and if this is not appropriate for today and we need to do this in our private session, please let me know. But Aries for me is intercepted. And so I know a fair amount about astrology, but that, like, getting more into that kind of aspects of it, astrology, I'm not really sure or clear about how that may be playing a part.
I think it's significant. I was actually I don't know why that popped into my head when you first said it. And like, I don't even really work much with intercepted signs because I generally use the whole house system or cope, and I don't come across that as much, but I don't know why it just crossed my mind. So I think there is a significance to that. And just the words that you're using, like the impatience and, you know, and so, to me, it feels to me, just what it feels like is that, this impatience is actually coming to serve you rather than to be, like impatience and angst, they have like a negative connotation to them, that
Yeah.
it's like we have to get rid of it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not good to be impatient. It's not good to have that. But actually that's what Aries generally, like, that is, it's like funny. That's how Aries functions.
Yes, that makes
It's
sense.
like sacred impatience, sacred anger, that's very different from just like regular anger.
Yeah.
So it feels like, and if you're saying, well, Libby's the human design pro here. I don't know much about human design, and I don't, want to say anything that I'm not sure of. But I think that from the astrological perspective, that, it may be that this is just, urging you
Mm-hmm.
to do something different, right? To take action in perhaps ways that finally free you from the cycle of, I've been working on it, I've been building it, I've been doing, right? And now, like, so what is that action that has to be taken to finally just be the thing,
Right.
right?
Right. That makes a
And
lot
that
of
might
sense.
take some reflecting and just a little bit of, or just doing something. Like, does anything come to your mind, or like, does anything just stand out that you're like, maybe is, I know you're saying you're rebranding your business, so maybe it's something with that where it's
Mhm.
time to just do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that in what everything that you've just said, it completely resonates with me. Like I'm super intuitive also. And, as one of the things that happens as a reflector, and this is something new that I'm learning,
Mhm.
is that, we actually need to have someone that sits across from us where we can express ourselves, because we really do have our own answer, and it's through our expression that we come into that awareness of what the answer is. So literally, as I was talking to you, then it hit me, and I was like, so the pressure or the angst, is it there to initiate some kind of different action to
Mhm.
break through? And essentially that's what you just said to me.
Yes, and I think
So,
that, yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah. um
yeah.
and it's like, the most important thing about that would be actually taking the action.
Exactly. Well, I think that's part of where I get stuck, and maybe this might be good for me to connect with Libby. I've really been seeking out people who understand human design, because us reflectors, we get referred to as like the unicorns, which I've always loved unicorns, but at the same time, our energy and the way that we operate is so different. And that's the piece that I finally connected with, is that I really need to be working with people that can help understand my energy, so that I can figure out how do I work with my energy as opposed to against it. And um, again, I love you. I love, like, I look at what you're doing on social media, and I think to myself, God, I wish I had that energy to be present the way that you're present, and how you're here and you're nurturing. And last night I was up until 2 a.m. watching some of your videos, because that's the only time I could do it. And you were talking about learning about our least dominant. And I have to say, I was stunned to realize that my least dominant is Cancer, because I think of myself as someone who is incredibly loving and nurturing. But then when I was reflecting about my ability to be present on social media, and
Oh,
I weigh that against, like, for example, like what you do, right? Not from a place of like, I'm doing something wrong, but we
right.
are who we are. And without any context, we can't really truly know ourselves. And so it's through how present you've been and how often you're posting and what you're producing in terms of even your programs. I'm just like, oh my God, I would love to be able to do that. But here's the thing that I finally acknowledged about myself, is that that is not how I am designed.
Mhm.
And so there feels like there's a piece of, one, stop comparing myself, which we all know that's never good. Um, and I think I can get there. Let me say it differently. I know I can get there as soon as I can figure out, how can I learn to work with my own design? Because really, what it's the angst that's getting created is, I love the work that you're doing. and I have a desire to be experiencing my work and what I'm here to do in a flow that works for me. And that's not what I'm experiencing. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. It definitely makes sense. And I mean, I open this up to everybody, by the way, and if that's okay with you, but I think
Absolutely.
that what you are expressing is that you you feel like you've come to a point where you want to experience, like you said, I think you just said it perfectly, you want to experience your own work and your own ideas and your own gifts in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about like the least dominant sign or whatever, it's so important to note that that doesn't mean that we can't do that. It's almost like the open centers, now I'm thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this woman said to me before, she's like, oh, it really concerned me that you said that you are not good at growing your audience. And first off, that was good feedback, because I was like, I don't want people to have limiting beliefs from this, that like they can't. I was like, but it's not that. It's just that it doesn't come as natural. I have to make an effort. Right? Like that's something I have to remind myself to do, for example, right? Where to me all day I would be just so happy to just sit and talk to the people who are already there. I kind of have to, but there's some people who would do all day growing their audience, and they would
Mm-hmm.
rather not sit and talk to them or whatever. And it doesn't mean that you can't do the other things. It's just that we have to be aware, because otherwise we just won't do them.
Mm-hmm.
you know and that's what I was really trying to get across.
Yeah.
And I think that knowing that Cancer, let's say, is your least dominant sign,
Mm-hmm.
again, it doesn't mean that you're not a nurturing person. It just means that that might not be a priority in terms of what you find yourself just doing the most naturally
Mm-hmm.
in your business on a day-to-day. And I'm curious, what is your dominant?
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because that's exactly where I was going to go.
Yeah.
It's Libra. And that's because I have I have a stellium. I have 5 planets in Libra, but then I have my sun right on the edge of Virgo. And so 35% of 35% of my element is air.
Hmm.
And then we've got it, basically it's like 22 and 22 in fire and in water,
Mm-hmm.
and then only 19% in earth.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so like last night, and again, this is what I love about the work that you do, Daphne. Like I love it. I love it. I love it. Like you take all of this stuff that I've known intuitively,
Mm-hmm.
that plays a part, but have been trying to dissect and understand, well, what part does it play and how does it
Yeah.
play, and so on and so forth. So even just last night listening to that, I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense, because I get so inspired ideas. When I meet people, I connect with people very quickly and very easily. But when it comes to all of the other pieces that automate my business, that get things moving, to see something from the conception phase all the way through, it is not what my strength is.
Right.
And it makes me crazy.
Yes, no, and I hear that completely. And it's like, you have a few choices there, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
you can hire someone to do those things for you, or you can make an effort, right,
Mm-hmm.
to prioritize that which doesn't come so easily and find the ways that do feel fun for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that for you, it's really at this point in time identifying, well, what are the blocks in the way right now, right? To just beginning, right? Stepping into more of how you really want to show up, right? That you want to show up more consistently, it sounds like,
Yes, absolutely.
and more in the expression of your passions. I feel like more of what you want to be sharing. I'm not sure what you're sharing now or what your brand is about now, but it feels like you want to shift it.
Yeah.
Right. So just identifying what is it that is stopping that process from happening, and then creating like a plan for yourself, a little bit of a step by step, where you're going to just, set yourself up to accomplish those things, even if it feels hard with certain,
Mm-hmm.
like for me, there are certain parts of my business that are, again, more effort and more like a little bit more figuring out, and there's resistance there, but I still do them because I know that I have to in order for it to all work.
Yeah. I think for years now, so when I started my business, Facebook didn't even exist. That kind of just gives everybody a little bit of like a hello. And so my now ex-husband set up my website, and I had what was called, and they still have this, Google pay per click ad. And my business just like literally it took off with very little effort on my part. Well, long story short, since I started my business 12 years ago, shortly thereafter, things got super rocky with my husband. And part of that was me stepping into my power and becoming the woman that is in front of you right now. And so for the last 10 years, it's been a very rocky road of like navigating through things. And now we have a whole new world where we've got this online world. And when I created my business, I was really clear that I wanted to be able to live anywhere. And so I set it up as such that as long as I had a phone and I had a quiet place to be, I could be with my clients. And now I've been in the space of like, okay, well, how can I take advantage of all this free marketing, AKA, social media, but I don't know how to do that piece. And it's been a learning process. And I'm finally in the place where I'm like, okay, I'm willing to accept the help. Now it's like finding the right help and somebody who gets me. And I feel like all of that piece is just literally started to come together in this last year.
Oh, okay. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a big part of it is just being willing to accept the help, right? And to just realize that it doesn't have to be so hard or whatever, I think that's a big thing for all of us. I just want to respond to Amanda asked, what is an intercepted sign?
Oh yeah.
Right? So in let's say Placidus house system, Amanda, when a sign is intercepted, it means that it's not on the cusp of a house. It's completely encompassed in one of the houses. So I feel like I should give a visual to demonstrate, because it's a little hard to explain, but it basically what it means, and different astrologers have different interpretations of it, but it's kind of like, to me, and how I learned it is that it's more of a like it's energy that is more like, I don't want to say subconscious, but like more intuitive energy. It's not as outwardly expressed. And Kimberly, you let me know if that's how you learned or if that resonates with you. Yeah. Again, like I don't really work with them so much, as I said, because when you use the whole sign house system, for example, every sign gets a house, and it's kind of, and I use equal sometimes in Coke, and that just doesn't come up for me as much. But what's interesting is that if you have Aries intercepted, that means also Libra is intercepted. Right. And being that you have a stellium there, that's so interesting because, I mean, obviously it's an important sign for you, but at the same time, it's, it's kind of, I feel it's accessed on a more intuitive level, right? Where you kind of need to, it's just not as like outwardly expressed. Is what I would say. So that energy is kind of more inner for her, and it's like maybe more hidden and not as easily or outwardly expressed. So let me just show an example of that so that she gets an idea. Hold on. It's very weird because my computer is doing this strange thing where I have like two desktops running at the same time, and I don't know why. And I just keep like flipping between the two, and it's so weird. So here, I'll show her. Here, let me just find a good example. Yeah, here's a good one. Okay, so let me know if you can see the screen. Is this it? Wait. Okay. So see how like on this one, Aries is not at any cusp. It's between
Mhm.
1 and 2, right? Like,
That
so
almost looks exactly
it
like
almost
your
looks like
chart.
your chart. Yeah.
You're kind of
So
freaking me out a little bit.
yeah, well, right, because it's yeah, the first house Aries. So for Kimberly and anybody who has intercepted signs, what's happening is that if you notice, like Libra, for example, it's not on a cusp of any house. It's just it's encompassed the in between these two houses, right? So it kind of what it means is that sign is not in a position of kind of this significant position of like being the cusp or the ruler of a house, right?
You know what's really crazy, Daphne? It just is that I don't because I can't see because of the circle.
Is
Does
this
that
like
say the ascendant is sitting at 22 degrees?
I think it is. Is that your like exact chart?
That's exactly,
That's
yeah,
so
that's exactly my chart. Now, of course, the planet locations are slightly are different, but
that is so
that is my chart.
oh my god,
I
that's
know.
crazy.
My midheaven is 25 degrees. Exactly. That's crazy.
Oh my god! And what's so weird is that I just randomly chose this one. There was like
I
lots of
know.
examples, and this was like the third or whatever. That's really interesting.
That's so crazy. I almost like sent you mine to make it easy on you. One
Yeah.
other thing that I would say that I would love, and I don't know if you can answer this for me, and maybe this is a Libby question, is that I was so happy to rediscover human design. Like I discovered it from Dr. Christiane Northrup 19 years ago, but it was so ahead of where I was. And
Mhm.
then my ex business partner that I used to have a radio program with 4 years ago asked me if I knew about human design. And that's how I was brought into an awareness that I was a reflector.
Mhm.
So one of the energies that I've really been learning how to figure out how to work with is that because I have no centers that are defined, my energy is changing every 2.5 days based on the moon cycle. And so how do you find consistency? How do you create consistency when it's changing every 2.5 days?
Mhm.
And that's been the part that's just been really kind of, I don't want to say maddening, but maddening because, I have those days where I'm like, I'm so on and I'm so inspired and it's just flowing. And then I can wake up the next day and it's like, it's all I can do to like
Yeah.
even function through my day. Like, I just want to be left alone.
Well, you want to, I mean, I will definitely, pass this to both Libby and Amanda. Amanda also does human design, but
Oh,
like,
awesome.
yeah, so you're in good
Yeah.
company. I don't do it, but what's interesting and what always stood out to me, and I'd love be so curious to hear your thoughts, Libby, as well, and Amanda, like, I'm a Cancer rising.
Mhm.
My
Right.
chart,
And the
my
moon.
chart
Mhm.
ruler is the
The
moon.
moon.
I'm a
Yes.
moon child. Like I am ruled by the moon. And I always felt like a resonance with whatever I have read about reflectors. Like I was
Mhm.
like, I could vibe with that. Like I felt like in a certain way, like I kind of have that reflector thing going on because of my connection to the moon. And I have always felt so strongly connected to the moon cycles, the moon phases. Like I know what sign she's in. I just like feel it. Like it's so a part of me. And I've always been inconsistent. Like I remember as a kid, when my mom
Ah,
would go to parent teacher conferences, what
yeah.
would they say? She's great. She's brilliant, but she's just really inconsistent. And I
Yeah.
would always like want to stay home from school on certain days. And like,
Yeah.
I'm just not a consistent person. I've learned to be more, but that's why I'm sharing it with you
Mhm.
just so that you know. Like, I
I
don't know if it's
love that
connected
you
at
do
all. I
that.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't have to, that just because, but there is a rhythm to it.
Mhm.
And if
And I
you
think
just
that's what I'm trying to
get
figure
that
out is
rhythm,
that
yeah, then
rhythm.
it's like a rhythm
Exactly.
within the chaos. Like, so I just
Exactly.
wanted to share that with you because, like,
Okay.
I'm not
I
a
need to do
reflector, but I am a moon child
that. Yes.
being that
Yes.
has learned
I've joked before and said the only thing that I'm consistent about is being
is, yeah.
inconsistent. And to some degree, I've really embraced that.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to a place where I've stopped being angry about who I am because I'm so sensitive.
Yeah.
And I've started to fully embrace my sensitivity and see the gift in it.
Yeah.
Um, and generally speaking, I've learned how to work with my inconsistency. But when it comes to this online world thing, it's been a challenge. And if it, like this right here, I could do this all day long.
Yeah.
When there's not somebody on the other side of the screen that I'm talking to directly, it almost feels like I'm staring into this void. And the possibilities of what I could talk about, the possibilities of what I could offer are so limitless.
Yes.
That it almost becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I think this is part of my design, and Libby, let me know if I'm getting this right.
Yes. Yes.
Is that in order for me to really tap in, I have to have something that I'm reflecting. And if there's not anybody on the other side of the screen, then I don't even know what the hell to reflect. It's like, it's maddening. It's maddening. And then I see consistently over and over other women who are sharing things that just come so naturally to me that it's never even occurred to me to share that.
Right.
And I have people that I'm even close to that truly, Daph, they don't know all of what I'm capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm realizing, like, wow, like that's a reflection. Like you were saying, somebody had said something about what you said in that video about attracting, building, or you're following.
Yep.
I'm realizing, like, wow, even people who are really close to me have no idea my talent and my gift. And clearly that is a reflection for me of what it is that I'm not reflecting back. So the question then becomes, how? Somebody please tell me how. Because in my heart of hearts, I know that I have a gift. And I know that I'm here to help people wake up to who they really are. And to see my clients have their aha moments where it completely shifts their world, like that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. Yeah. And when I'm not doing that, it kind of feels like, what's it all for?
Yeah.
So.
Well, Libby, if you want to share, and Amanda as well, and what I just want to say one thing is that focus and giving yourself the permission to say, this is what I do, and here's what I offer, and this is what I am focusing on. I feel like that for me was the absolute turning point where I was like, okay, I have so much that I want to share, but by focusing it and committing and saying, committing, right? Libra has a hard time committing, but it's like, and especially intercepted, I guess you could say, like, even more, it's like I needed to just finally say, you know what, this is what I am choosing to focus on, and this is what I'm showing up for. And then it's like everything else just falls into place because you have a focus, right? Mm-hmm. When I sell or whatever, I'm focused on that thing. I know who I'm speaking to. I know what it is I'm trying to say, right? But when you don't have a very clear focus and purpose, it's maddening, like you said. So I would love to,
you totally hit the nail square on the head. That whole focus thing and that not commitment thing, not wanting to commit to only one thing because I feel like I'm being put in a box. So yes. And Libby, thank you for being here.
Of course.
I love hearing what unfolds.
I loved hearing your story and your experience. It's really important. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I just want to reiterate what Daphne just touched on there with, like, getting real with who you are, because even though you're a reflector, you still are a divine being, right? And you are divinely created. So it's really important. You're not just reflecting what people give you, but you are reflecting out too. So it is really important for you to have time alone to really know who you are without other people shining into you.
Huge. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because that can be really disorienting because you have all of this energy coming in and it can just be very disorienting because then you're like, who am I? Who am I? Who am I?
Exactly. It's so true. Like I remember in high school actually feeling like I was a fake and a phony because I literally was the girl that was friends with the least fortunate kids to the ones that were the rebels to the ones that were popular. You too, Daphne. And I felt like, who the hell am I?
Yeah.
Like nobody else is like this. And that
And nobody is like you. And that's
I
what
felt this, and it was so genuine for me. And yet people would look at me like I was crazy and had me thinking I was crazy. So yeah, it's finding out that I was a reflector. There was this huge healing that happened because all of a sudden, all of these these pieces that were connected, but I couldn't make sense of them, suddenly made sense. But one of the things I want to say to you that you just said that was really beautiful is that I am a divine being, and then I'm also reflecting something out without others because there's times where I just feel like, well, what about me? And when do I get to be like me without everybody else and taking care of everybody else and reflecting for everybody else? Like, what about me? So thank you for saying that. And I'll reflect on that and sit with that.
Yes. And really like give yourself permission. Just like Daphne said, that's your beauty. That's why you're a unicorn, because you are inconsistent. That is your beauty. And so for you to really embrace that, and you're going to be the example for other people to have patience and to have the wisdom to use all of your open areas for your good, for the good of everyone. And so it's really important for you to have patience and don't be afraid to experiment. Like that's when you are really fulfilled, is when you get surprised by by what you can do, what you discover about yourself and about other people. So like really, do you journal?
I do, but but I'm inconsistent.
Okay. But that's something to journal on. Like write down like, okay, at these times of the month I'm feeling this way, or I didn't journal these days, and just give yourself permission to change, to let that energy change. But then like Daphne says, like use the medicine from those different areas where you feel like you have shortcomings, like you feel like your cancer is, or your cancer is least dominant, but you can still use the medicine from that, just like Daphne says. So don't be afraid to experiment and play, and you're not going to make any mistakes. You're only going to make a mistake if you're not learning and you're not discovering.
I don't know that that's even possible for me. I also use numerology, and my day of birth is the 12th, which is literally the forever student who then is the teacher. So I love learning and evolving and seeing the connections. And I think what I'm realizing in this conversation is that the Virgo sun that's right on that edge of my stellium is a perfectionist. And I have really high expectations of myself. And I don't really, I'm not as good at this. I'm getting better at being loving and patient.
I just had an amazing breakthrough.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay.
This is crazy. Yesterday in Abracadabra, remember we were speaking about perfectionism. Libby was there. So I'll just explain. We were speaking about how perfectionism comes up for so many of us, and that is the shadow of Virgo, right? Now the medicine for that is Pisces, right? Meaning it's the opposite sign. And so whenever we're in the shadow of one, we want to take the medicine from the opposite sign because that naturally balances it. So what is Pisces? It's unconditional love, and it's remembering that really there is no such thing as perfect. Like only love is perfect, and love is just everything. And like nothing in nature is perfect, but it's perfect because it's imperfect. But what I just realized was that Jupiter is one of the traditional rulers of Pisces. Now, I never really understood why until this moment. Because Jupiter, we know, is the ruling planet of Sagittarius. And today we came here to also talk about Sagittarius. And I was like, how are we weaving this in? But now it makes perfect sense, because Sagittarius, being ruled by Jupiter, has an inherent connection then to Pisces, you could say, because they both have that Jupiter component. People don't really talk about Jupiter being the ruler of Pisces anymore because it's the traditional one. The new one is Neptune.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh my gosh, that's incredible, because like you can then, work with this Sagittarius energy as well, and also the Pisces. But I feel like maybe this is like a divine guidance thing for you to, take some of that, just the Jupiter. I feel that Jupiter is a great ally for you in that, what's so cool about Jupiter is, and being that it's the ruler of Sagittarius, right? Sagittarius to me is so cool because yes, it's about expansion and like learning, right? But that whole axis of Sagittarius Gemini is very focused at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever like met a Sagittarius? Like, do you know any Sagittarius?
Oh yeah.
Like they're not like pie in the sky.
No.
Like, they're very focused, and they're very like in this really interesting way. Like they're so they're very fiery, but yet have they're very like, like grounded at the same time in like their beliefs, their focus, what they're learning, and they're able to take knowledge and put it into something that is like a gift to the world, right? That is like this philosophy. So I feel like that whole thing is like meant for you to
love that.
because, I was like, well, what I feel like Jupiter really wants to work with, and Jupiter is just such a cool planet because it's so expansive. Yeah. And yet at the same time, its sign, right, Sagittarius and Pisces, like there's this element with Sagittarius again of like just taking it and grounding it and focusing it and turning it into a body of knowledge. Right.
Well, I love everything that you just said and the intuition that's coming through because one, my ascendant, as you know, is Pisces. And one of your many videos, I can't even remember which one now that I was watching, you were talking about your ascendant and kind of like how there's an aspect of it being a superpower. And I learned in that video from you that there's the co-ruler of Pisces, which is Jupiter. And you said, just tune in intuitively. And I immediately was like, I have always felt a connection to Jupiter.
Wow.
And in addition to that, so I was like, yep, Jupiter is my planet. And then on top of
that's your chart ruler.
It's totally my chart ruler. And then on top of that, my midheaven is Sagittarius. And my Jupiter is a part of that stellium, which is conjunct my moon. So I have Jupiter, Uranus, Mercury, and my moon. That's my stellium.
Wow.
And so that moon is like tapping into the Uranus of the higher mind, and the Jupiter's expanding the moon and my Mercury. Do you know what I mean? So
there's
it's
a really cool connection to all of that. And that's what's so cool about it is like, even though they are independent planets and they have their own thing going on, like you are totally tapping into like that. There is this really cool like vein, like you could almost think of it as like this like ley line or whatever that combines these forces. That is a subtle thing, right? But that's definitely part of your signature. And I think that's just really
well, the last thing I'll share with you on that, I feel like we've spent so much time on me and I didn't want to do that, but that's the Virgo in me, right? Is that when I go all the way back to when I first started my business, what I was super clear about was inspiring and empowering women to create a life that's an authentic reflection of who they are so that they can live a life and experience their life in joy. And of course, Jupiter is all about joy. And so it's amazing when I can go that, right? I can go back.
That just feels like I got major chills.
Yes.
Okay, good. You guys
seriously, I feel like those initial those initial ideas that we get in our business are the right ones. Like they just, and then we have to go through this whole journey of,
and then I go all the way back to the beginning and go, wait a minute, I knew this at the beginning. I just had to make this like round trip.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies, so much.
Beautiful. And if that's your focus, that's your focus.
Yeah.
That's enough of a focus. Like, you know what I mean? And then you have your tools, but that's who you're speaking to. That's your point. That's the, you know what I mean? That's the unifying focus that is needed for you to show up every day with a purpose, right? Like not just feeling like, oh, I'm just going to talk about whatever. Like that is definitely focused enough, I think. I mean, that's pretty much goes along with similar to mine. Mine's a little bit more like about business and, my things are like wealth, joy, and freedom. So there's the money piece there, but like, you know, like that's a focus enough for me. That's what's guided everything I've created.
Well, and the thing that I love about you is that, and this is interesting because the moon has become this thing that I was very interested in. And I have a certification in astrology and in numerology, and I'm stronger in numerology because, as you know, the astrology is such an art and it's so vast. Whereas like a number is a number, period. But what I've really become passionate about is helping women follow the moon cycles, because obviously I'm so impacted by them, but I did that intuitively before I even knew that I was being impacted to the degree that I am as a reflector by the moon cycles, right? And for me, it's about helping women to understand the core of who they are, because they are entrepreneurs. And when you can understand that piece, then you can build a sustainable business and not lose yourself, right? And so what I also understand is that I don't get to do that for others unless I myself am on that path and doing that. And I think that's where the frustration has come from, is like, I have all of this awareness and this knowledge, but it has not yet become the wisdom because I haven't figured it out for myself yet, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And it's fascinating that Sagittarius rules wisdom, right? So it's like, I feel that this is the sign that is showing up now to guide you to what needs to be done. And it's not a big, like, I don't feel like it's like you have to do, like, I feel like it's just maybe a mindset or something, just that you need to see it in a certain way. I want you to get really intimate with Sag and Jupiter. So this is a perfect time. And I have tools for that. Like, for example, you can do meditations with Jupiter, which, you know, one of the expressions of Jupiter energy is Zeus, right? Oh. What a cool god to work with. Like, I've done meditations with Zeus that were the coolest things ever. He's like this grandpa, like this like really cool dude who just like wants you to have the best life and will like teach you things to help you like accomplish what you want. I don't know. I used to work with that energy a lot. I haven't in a while because I felt like I just needed it at a certain time. So you can do certain things, whatever resonates with you. And if you want more tools, I can tell you. But for everybody here, you know, like this is Sagittarius season is coming. And I mean, it's such a great energy for us all to work with, but particularly you, it seems, Kimberly. But I know Amanda too is a Sag, right? And she's Sag dominant, right? Oh, so awesome. All of you together, like, and myself included, like, this is a very good time for us to be doing this work, to ally with Jupiter, but also to nurture Sagittarius inside of ourselves. So it's like, I think for us, what we're being guided to is to really explore what does it mean to be wise, right? What is wisdom really? How do we be the guru or the sage? That's one of the key words, but it's like this kind of embodied piece that I'm feeling is about saying like, okay, I have this information, I have this awareness, I have all these ideas, but how do I actually, again, turn it into a body of work? And how do I, you know, convey it in ways that then the people who need to hear it and receive it can receive it and can, you know, process it and integrate it.
Love.
So, oh my God, that's so funny. You have it. That's so cool. That's just
How crazy is that, right? Like, I know that I'm always being guided. Like, I get signs like that all the time. But yeah, so my love, he has a dog, and he bought him as a puppy from the pound, and his name was
What
Harmony.
kind of dog is that? Just
And
curious.
he renamed him Zeus. He's a Rhodesian Ridgeback. And this dog, like, he literally, you should hear the way he whines when I come home. It's insane. Like, my man, he's just like, what is the deal? My dog is like in love with you more than I think I am.
God, that's
I love that you were just talking about Zeus. So now I'm just like, oh my God, okay, I got it.
He feels your energy.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I think there's something there.
There's something there.
And yeah, definitely. And you know what, honestly, I mean, I do a lot of work with like the business spirit guides or whatever. So what you should do is do some meditations with Zeus energy, that Jupiter, right? And then see what you're guided to do.
Okay.
See what actions, just ask, be like, do a meditation where you like just go, and then you can ask, be like, well, what would you have me do? Like, what action can I take? Give me a vision, give me a template, give me something, give me a message, and then let that lead the way, because you can't get it all at once, right? 3D, one thing at a time. Okay. But if you keep going with it, it will all come together, right?
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, you're so welcome. So, I mean, I really want to like open it up, right? I want to make sure that I feel like this was so cool because it was so reflector of you. Like, I feel like I got so much out of it.
Yes,
like,
I totally agree.
Yeah, like I feel like that was what we all needed. So thank you for sharing so openly and for being just so present with us and all of you. And you know, if Amanda or Libby would like to add or share anything or ask me anything, yes, I would love to.
I just wanted to share something really quick, because for me, like, I feel like I'm always in my head so much, and you said something just a moment ago that I was like, oh, that, you know, the Sag energy is to like really bring all of the energy together and to embody it, to like create a body of work. And I just like, for me, that was like, oh, that's right there, you know, and looking at like Taurus is my midheaven, and you know, like all of these earthy energies of where I'm going towards, right? My Capricorn is my north node. That looking at like, oh, that's my work, is to take all of the stuff that I know, because you know, I've been talking about like, I don't know what I'm going to do, and I'm like, even this is helping me kind of figure out like, what do I want to offer, that I have, like, I really do know a shit ton of stuff.
Yes.
Like it in a lot of different areas. Like literally somebody could bring something up and I probably have at least a working knowledge of it. But for me, what my work is to embody it. Yeah. To like bring it into my body and to live it. And that's where I am not been like, I just like, for me, this was just like such a huge aha, and I feel like I want to cry. But it's like, oh, it's not just knowing the thing. I need to be living the thing. I need to bring it into my body. So thank you, Kimberly. Holy cow, this was so good.
You're welcome, Amanda. I just want to share with you really quick. I did this in my opening introduction when I joined the group. But one of my absolute favorite quotes, and I believe with every atom of my being, is that our body's deepest desire is to be ensouled, and our soul's deepest desire is to be embodied. And the whole point is to integrate and bring them together. And I feel like what you just said, I could not agree with you more. And I'm just.
That is beautiful. Wow. Thank you, Amanda, for sharing that. And thank you, Kimberly. That was just such a beautiful whole thing. I'm so happy. And, you know, I'm gonna, you know, I feel some ideas coming through, just things, maybe I'll send an email out with just some cool ways for us all to like work more with that embodiment aspect of Sag, which is a newer, like it's like this exciting new expression of it that I feel like I'm really looking forward to exploring, because I have these different, like when it's so funny, the way that I work with astrology is that I will get this idea as to some kind of like gift or message for the signs or planets, and then I just know where to find it, and then I will, it's like this, so I know there's something there for us, and I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna share it. There's something magical there. So that's going to be like a focus that we'll all have, where I will email you something to help embody this more, and maybe just some wisdom there for how we can work with Sag in this way to get focused and to just, do the thing. Because what's so cool, and what I'm beginning to think that it is that Zeus, what is Zeus? He's a god, right? And I don't know what he ruled or anything, but like, it's a very potent creative force that actually creates things in this world and in this life. So I'm going to go with that, because that's what I think it has to do with, like, some divine masculine stuff.
Oh my gosh, Daphne, can I jump in really quick?
Yes.
So you were talking about what Zeus rules. So like, like the whole mythology, Zeus ruled on Mount Olympus.
Right.
But what did Zeus do? He constantly was looking at like how to be on the ground of the people by embodying different people so that he could experience human life. Like, I just like, holy cow.
That is so
But that's how Hercules was born, right? Like the strength of Hercules came out from him embodying a human and creating this like godlike strength out of combining the god and the body and the human.
Wow, that is so cool.
That's so cool.
We're here to embody divinity, right?
Yeah.
And all this wisdom that you have, each of you, is on purpose. It's not just like, it's not, I feel like we take ourselves so for granted, and we just kind of think like, oh, and we don't know what to do with it all, but it's meant to be shared. It's meant to be, put into this package, and that's you, right? And that's enough, like, right? It's so divine. And I am so grateful for all of you. This is so beautiful. And I will send the recording. I will send the email with some notes and insights, and I'm just so excited for Sagittarius season now.
Yay!
Lightning bolts all around. Thank you guys for being here and opening up and sharing so beautifully. You're all so beautiful and amazing, and I love you all.
I love you.
I love you.
Love
Love you all.
And we'll see each other soon in the group, and
all that other good
in
stuff.
all the realms and planes.
Yes.
Thank you so much also for your reflection. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm like overflowingly appreciative and grateful for everybody that was here. So thank you. I feel like there was some healing that happened for me that I didn't even know I needed. So thank
awesome. You. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.